That's right.
There we go. All right, so we're back. Another Sunday Market Blitz. We're gonna have a bunch of people joining us that are new because we're posting it now in the TFT Discord. We've been doing these sessions for pretty much 3 years now.
Yeah, a little like 3.5 years thereabout.
Yeah, so we've been
closer
meeting
to 4
on Sundays, Nick and myself, just going through our analysis for the week. But we've always been sharing it with our community, Forex League. But we figured why not start to do some stuff for TFT education wise. If you guys have your own ideas for any of the pairs that we're going over, feel free to drop a link. If it's TradingView, drop the link in the chat, and we'll do a giveaway for the session as well. We're going to give away a challenge at the end, so make sure you guys are active in the chat. We're going to pick one person from the chat during the session. It's just going to be a 10K. I know it's not public, the 10K challenge, but we're going to give away the 10K one for this session. So make sure you guys, again, are active in the chat. And yeah, if you guys are new, ask questions, whatever. So we normally kick it off. Nick gets it started, start sharing up, the pairs that you're going after.
Yeah. So let me just get there we go. Capability. I noticed there's a guy in chat. His name is 600K funded. Great name. That's awesome. But guys, let's kick it off here. So we're gonna go through, as Angelo said, all the analysis that we've prepped for you guys for the week ahead. And this is pretty much just a outlook for the week ahead, analyzing, showing you guys the potential setups that we'd like to see. And then we're gonna wait for those to play out through the week and then execute. But we've been doing this again every weekend. This is kind of like part of the method for how we approach trading. Pre-analysis on Sunday, getting ready for the week, and then as things start to execute, as these situations get closer to playing out, then we'll get some actual trades. So we always start off with DXY, which is essentially just the dollar index, right? It's showing us the strength of the dollar, which is good to be aware of because the dollar makes up for 80% of all trade. And when, I'm sure you guys have noticed when the dollar's been, moving and it's doing something, we're seeing a lot of the, market react to that. So we use this more as an indicator. Obviously you can't trade this, but we use it more as an indicator to be aware of the trends on the dollar so that we don't get caught off guards, and we can just use that information kind of in our toolbox for trading. Just one more thing to be aware of. Okay, so pretty much the method I'm going to go through here is starting on the daily. I'm just going to grab the trend from the daily, make sense of what price action's been doing, then drop to the 4-hour and give you guys, two scenarios. Here on DXY though, we're just going to stay on the daily because we are in kind of, sketchy waters right now. We're around 103. We are extremely bullish. This thing has just been rallying like crazy, pushing up to 103, then, showing us some rejection. We broke through, failed to get a higher low above. It broke lower, failed to get a lower high below. So we're starting to establish, an area where we're seeing a lot of reactions. Okay, so going forward into this week, we recently broke over 103. So we need structure now, right? What we failed to see over here, a higher low above 103. And that would, pretty much solidify that we're going to be confident on a bullish dollar for the next week or so. Okay, but we really need either this to, form a higher low here, some sort of structure that's really confirming we're now above 103. But there also is the case where this could just keep rallying now. We've kind of seen that recently, just kind of unspeakable volume. It's just kind of driving to new highs. So that's always a possibility. It's just kind of, how the market's been lately. So this is the most ideal scenario, right? Normal structure, nice higher low, nice confirming structure above a key zone. So this would be nice to see to confirm bullish. Now, if this doesn't happen, let's say something like this over here happens where we broke above, then it comes right back through. Like so, it would drop below 103. We would need then structure below 103. So lower highs, nice, strong, apparent downtrend. And then we would be pretty confident in saying, okay, the dollar's bearish. We can use that information, on a weekly basis as we see this playing downward and then we could use this on other pairs and, make trades accordingly. So that's kind of the outlook for DXY. Definitely bullish right now, not showing any signs of slowing down yet. We know what we want to see and we know what the potential is. So let's go ahead, jump over to AUD USD, our first tradable pair, and we're going to do the same thing. Daily time frame. What has the overall trend been? So we could just do that by following price action, right? You could literally just zoom out a little bit and just look at price action. We're seeing lows, lower highs, another low. Then we broke this lower high. So it was bullish there where we started getting characteristics of a bullish trend, higher high, higher low, higher high, and so on. Then we saw another transition here, where we got a, a break of this higher low, lower low, lower high, and then we broke major support levels and this range. So this was a massive range here, these two zones, 0.7, 0.725. Okay, so we broke below that, got our first daily lower high right here. This was very significant. Good volume, very quick, rejected very hard, and then dropped to a new low at 0.685. Then price action pulled back. So this showed as a very strong 4-hour bullish trend. This whole retracement here, back up towards resistance. And then notice how we're finding rejection here, right? This high is meeting this prior high. So nothing really broke yet on the daily. So we are still bearish. And we saw a nice rejection from there. Huge bearish volume. This thing's been sinking. We did get some great trade setups coming out of this for previous weeks. So we've been kind of expecting some sort of reaction here, and it did choose to go bearish. So we can now go to the 4-hour and cover two scenarios. Okay, we're aware of the higher time frame, right? So we want to kind of drop down as we're seeing things and stack all these, indications to give us high probability setup. So now we have a bearish daily, a bearish 4-hour. Things are lining up. Now we're looking to, enter on lower highs. Okay, so price action broke 0.7115 right here, retested quickly and then dumped. So this is a little bit too much volume to enter on anything right now. We're really looking for reaction 0.7. Either price action can pull back, give us some sort of lower high closer to this resistance level. That would then provide a pretty good risk reward setup targeting back down towards 0.7. But if that doesn't happen, obviously we have this trade, which is, just playing to structure, seeing a new low below 0.7, retest as resistance, confirm a nice lower high, and then we're short on that. And this is actually a, a better risk reward than even this setup. Right? We're getting around 150 roughly, risking about 46 or so. This will change slightly, but yeah, over a 3-to-1 so far on this setup. So, and that's just riding the trend, right? Just entering on lower highs, riding a very apparent 4-hour bearish trend, targeting towards new lows, very realistic, right? We're not really just choosing random targets 400 pips away. This makes sense according to the daily and what we've seen here on the 4-hour. So this is going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Either we'll bounce, then we'll look for rejection up here, some sort of reaction, or we're going to blow through support, and then we're looking for lower highs immediately. Okay, so that's the most likely, right? Definitely short, definitely bearish. Nothing on this chart says, AU's bullish, buy this chart. Nothing here says that yet. We haven't seen enough, bullish price action. And maybe we won't for a little while, maybe till we get down to here. But yeah, this is the outlook. Very likely that will continue bearish, but let's entertain the idea of a bullish scenario. What would we need to see on AU to consider this now bullish? Right? We want to, where we'd look at this and say, okay, this is clearly a buy. We're going to start targeting towards, higher resistance levels. And that would need to be, a transition of this zone here, 0.7115, where we just recently tested a lower high. So price action would need to come up, break that zone, give us a higher low, right? A new 4-hour higher low, which is nice structure. Then we can consider long scenarios off of there. Obviously, that's very far from happening. That's why these two blue scenarios, these blue trade paths are the most likely scenarios for the week ahead. Okay, so that's AU. Looking pretty interesting. Good volume, though. This is a little bit like this swing right here, just since the last lower high, is already over 15 pips thereabout, which is a good amount for AU. AU is pretty slow moving for the most part. So let's jump over to AU now. You're going to do the same thing, daily time frame. We don't need that tag over there. Daily time frame, what's the overall trend? And we could just follow price action. Clearly, this is very bullish. What are the characteristics of a bullish trend? Higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, so on. Clearly, this is, a very strong one. Huge, huge volume. This rally here was very significant. We found a resistance just around 95 resistance, came back down, form structure around 88 support, and then bounced from there, right? We were looking for lower highs here. Instead, there was just consolidation. Ultimately, it broke above 91 resistance, and we've been bullish since then. So this thing took off. We're now above 95. It looks like it's on the pullback. This is pretty overextended, but it is bullish. So let's go to the 4-hour, see what the 4-hour has for us. All right, so look at this rally, right? Very extended. Honestly, this could be an opportunity here if we consolidate a little bit. It really depends on how price action, plays out. I don't want to see just volume pump into the market now. I'd like to see the market cool down, give us a reasonable amount of consolidation, and then continue with some bullish conviction that we could then enter on. That seems reasonable given how much volume we've seen. This is a big rally, right? That's a pretty big extension there. So for it to only pull back to, 38.2, is possible, but you really want to see some sort of consolidation. You want it to make sense. You don't just want crazy price action, huge volume stuff. You want to really minimize your risk, get some good levels. The more that price action rejects off 95, the better. So look for this scenario. That's why I included this kind of bar pattern here. You want this kind of flat line for a little bit, turn around, give us some ejection, and then enter on some conviction, to the upside. And then this would be a pretty good trade, just over a 4-to-1. Again, that would slightly vary depending on where you put your stop loss, but there's plenty on that trade. So that's one possibility, right? That's the most ideal long scenario possible, where I would feel super comfortable taking that. It'd be a 10 out of 10 trade in my book. That's what would need to happen. Now, if that doesn't happen and price action decides to fall a little bit more, decides to sink lower, we could be looking at 93 support, 91. But how do we enter on that, right? So ideally, price action drops a little bit more, gives us a new low, and then starts giving us structure. So a nice 4-hour trend with lower lows, lower highs, nothing out of the norm. Just if we had a nice bearish trend, that would be something we could consider entering on. All these lower highs below these support levels, just targeting zone by zone. So that's really what we would need to see. But a little too early to tell which way it's going to go. Honestly, just need more price action. But yeah, 95 is our zone. So how price action reacts here is really going to give us a good indication as to where price action will go this week. So that's AJ. I mean, crazy volume. That's actually going to be the case with most of these JPY pairs. We're just experiencing so much volume. UJ is no different. Just to quickly brief you guys on UJ, this is at the bottom of my watch list. It is really developing into something ugly. It's just so much volume. It's crazy. So we're on the daily, same thing. What's the overall trend? Clearly it's bullish, right? We've been rallying like crazy. We found new higher low here, 127, and then it took off again, even more volume, right? Now we're at 134, consolidated for a little bit, but again, just lack of structure. We know we're bullish, so let's go to the 4-hour, see what's going on here. So we decided to fib this just so we could hopefully identify some sort of 4-hour structure, right? From conviction to the high. Believe it or not, there was no structure formed in any of this, right? This is one rally, one measurement from the fibs. So zeros here, hundreds down here. And look how far away structure is, right? Somewhere around 131. This is kind of like the golden level here with reasonable confluence, right? We have the fib level. We got key support. So this is ideally where we'd like to see price action pull back to, and then look for reactions, whether it's going to go bullish or bearish. This would just be a more comfortable zone. Where price action is now at 134 is just kind of absurd, super overvalued. It's consolidating for a little bit, not really enough time to get comfortable considering how big this rally is. You really want to see price action really struggle and flatline after a move like that. To me, this looks like it's just going to continue. It already popped up since market open. We're pretty much above 134 now. Need a couple more candles to solidify that. But this is a likely scenario, right? UJ is just going to keep rallying until inevitably it comes back for the biggest retracement we've seen. So this is, very likely. It's just going to continue upward up till this, negative fib level or, even higher, 137 area. So we'll see how that goes. If this does play out, we can't trade this, right? We just need more information. There's no real, structure forming trend where we could take high quality setups from. So that's unfortunate. Now, if we do reject from 134, we could play the retracement, right? And that would be really trying to find a really strong bearish trend, something super clear, and just, again, playing to the lower highs down towards lower support levels. A little bit of a counter trend trade, but given the volume here, I mean, this is just from 134 to 131, it's over 250 pips, right? So given the volume, if you do see a 4-hour trend present itself, it's probably going to last for a little while until we take out some of these support zones. So be aware of that. It's kind of looking unlikely that we'll get that anytime soon. But yeah, that's UJ. Kind of a disappointment. Just crazy, crazy volume. So yeah, let's move over to EJ. EJ is looking all right. It's on the pullback. We'll get to that in a second. We're going to do the same thing though. Very methodical. Start on the daily time frame, assess the trend, and then drop down. So what has EJ been doing? Actually, could clean this up a little bit right there. So EJ has been super bullish, right? Since we broke this consolidation here, this is like a weekly flag, just massive pattern. And this is the important part. We broke 133, right? Rallied right to 137. So a bunch of consolidation, price action came back, formed structure at 133, and then took off, right? We broke 137, and it's been history since that point. Just rallied straight to 144. Price action covered about 700 pips in how long? Let's see, just for some interesting facts. We covered about 700 pips in 9 days. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good week right there. Week and a half of trading, if you were long on that. So we rallied right to 144. Now it's on the pullback, but nothing here is broken really, so it's still technically bullish. So let's take that information and that trend down to the 4-hour. See if we can make sense of anything on this time frame. So here's the 4-hour, right? Very clean breakout of 137. It's a nice ascending triangle, right? Broke above, retested, beautiful entry right in here. This would have been your golden ticket. Boom, up 700 pips, would have went right to 144. So that was really one of the only entries. I mean, unless you're trying to, get some quick entries on these small pullbacks, really wouldn't advise that. But this was really the only entry for that long scenario. We actually mapped that one out too, which is pretty cool because this happened way quicker than I thought it would. But so it pushed up to 144. Now it's on the pullback. We're at 38.2, but it doesn't look like it's slowing down. We do see more of a confluence area here at 61.8, which is right at 140. Right, nice zone, nice support level, reasonable pullback. So this would be a nice area to see some consolidation, some rejection, price action, form that higher low, and then boom, we're long on some bullish conviction, targeting back up towards 144. And just based on this, without seeing the price action entry, obviously, we're just shy of a 4-to-1 risk reward. So that's not bad. If that fails to happen, again, look for price action to head lower. If we don't find support at 140, we're probably going to drop down to 137. And there's not really much in here that has strength to catch a falling knife, at least in my opinion. So that's what I would be looking at. I'd be looking for structure below 140. Maybe I'll consider it shorting, depending on how clear the price action shows. But yeah, these are the possibilities. This is what I'm seeing for this week. Either we'll get a nice continuation, nice structure formation out of EJ on this 4-hour, or we're going to tank to lower support levels and look for reactions around 137. So yeah, that's EJ. We'll see how that one plays out. And let's jump over to gold, the one we've been waiting for. So daily time frame, same thing, guys. We are actually bearish on this since we broke 1930. So let's just follow the price action as we've been doing, right? Price action pushed up, super strong rally up towards 2070. Then we pulled back from there. And then we were forming all this consolidation at 1930. And this became our key zone. So as long as price action was above this, we had formed a higher low. This was still bullish. Now, if we broke below, we knew that we were then bearish and we were in for probably a pretty big drop. So what happened? We consolidated it. It broke bullishly. There was a good trade in there. This actually pushed up quite a bit, right? Just shy of 2000, 1997. Then it pulled back, blew out this range entirely, and 1930. Absolutely tanked to 1870, blew that zone out too, dropped to 1800, formed our low, and then pulled back to 1870, which is where we're still at. You guys can see even from this time frame, we're consolidating. So what does this mean? We're still bearish as long as we're below 1870. This is our new key zone, right? We had the first lower high on the daily form here. So that means that zone has to break for us to transition into a bullish trend, which has not broken yet. So still bearish as long as we're below 1870. So let's go to the 4-hour, see what's going on here. So the 4-hour is looking a little bit bullish, especially with this massive candle. I mean, that's some volume if you've ever seen it. But we are ranging, right? 1870 as resistance, 1830 as support, which is also our weekly. So what are the setups for this week? What's the most likely scenario that's going to happen? Either we're going to continue bullish off this crazy volume that just got injected at market open or last week, crazy stuff. So either that's going to continue, we'll break 1870, see a new high, see a higher low above, some sort of continuation, and then we're off to 1900, 2000, and so on. So that's a possibility, but structure formation is key. So you really need to see that 4-hour higher low form. Honestly, the cleaner this is, the better. That's really what you want to see on a true break of a range. Something super clean, good volume, good decision, and then it's off. Now, if that doesn't happen, the other likely scenario is that we continue to range. So that means we're going to reverse at 1870. Some of you guys will probably end up shorting this week if you're trading more intraday stuff, or if you see some sort of nice reversal in a lower time frame, you could catch a nice trade back down to 1830. We got to see how price action plays out. Now, if that does happen, this exact scenario that we're looking at up here becomes a reality at 1830. Either we're going to bounce or we're going to break, and then we're looking for lower highs below, or we're looking for clean structure to play it back up towards 1870. So really, the message on gold is you got to wait a little bit, see how this zone plays out, and if this rally is going to continue, or if we're actually off into a new trend. So yeah, pretty interesting week we got for us. I mean, just volume is still the theme, last couple of weeks. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Quick recap: covered DXY, AU, AJ. AU is probably my favorite. AJ, UJ, EJ, and gold. All right, and these are active charts. We posted them in Discord, Telegram. You guys can play this forward, kind of compare it to your own. Maybe see if some of these setups are playing out. Use it as like an indicator, even. Where you mark up your own chart, then you check ours out, and you're like, okay, I was exactly the same as them, or it gives you that extra bit of confidence, to either take a trade or something. But yeah, guys, thank you. So I'm going to pass it off to Angelo. Let's see what he's looking at.
Cool. Yeah, so I'm gonna get into it. Somebody asked if we're gonna be covering EU. I don't think either of us really trade EU, so we're not gonna be going over that. But I'm gonna go over GU and a bunch of other pairs NU, which are pretty correlated to EU as well. So like Nick said, you could just use that as a comparison. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna share up. We're gonna get started with DXY. Can you see my screen okay?
Yeah, you're good to go.
All right, cool. All right, so
DXY.
we're gonna get started with DXY. For those that don't know, Nick started with it. I always start with it. This is a dollar index. It just shows us the value of the US dollar. This is good to start with, especially when we're looking at all these major pairs here. And I pretty much just left on all of the analysis that we marked up from last week. I just left on here. So as you can see, we definitely had the right idea last week. I don't personally take trades on DXY. I more just chart this up so I can use this sort of as an indicator for what these other pairs, or as a confirmation for what these other pairs are going to do. So let's go up to the weekly time frame. We always like to start on the weekly and just work our way down time frames here. And as you can see, if I just zoom out, I have this level marked right here, this little gray area. And let's just keep zooming out. Why is this area on there? And pretty much we have resistance over here. We have some minor support over here. We have support right there. And then we have resistance here. This doesn't quite come to this level. But then we came up to this level again. Let's just zoom in. We came up to this area again. And as you can see, we had this sharp rejection to the downside. We retested this previous high, and then we pushed back up. And that was pretty much where we were at last week. So if we just clear some of this up so we could actually see some of the price action here. Let's just go ahead and delete these. Last week, when we were evaluating this, we saw we were at a support level. We had a spinning top. And what I like to do on the weekly is, where are we with our levels in comparison to our levels? What is the overall trend? And then what is price action telling us? And price action is telling us that we had this spinning top. That's a reversal candle. We were at support area right there. That's our second confirmation. We're in an overall bullish trend. That's our third confirmation. So that is why we were looking for the dollar to then push to the upside, which it obviously ended up doing. So let's go ahead and bring all this stuff back on. Let's just drop down to the 4-hour time frame. So 4-hour time frame, we had this going, we had this uptrend, and then we had this downtrend. So we were going over some structure last week, so you guys can visualize this a little bit more. We were forming these higher highs right here. We ended up forming this high. Then we broke the previous higher low, ended up turning into a clear downtrend, making these lower lows and lower highs. And then we had another reversal right at the support level. So we had a break of this lower high. We had a retest. And this was essentially last week what we were looking for. We were looking for this to become our first higher low and then push to the upside, which, as you guys can see, ended up confirming and then pushed, all the way to the upside. So DXY certainly last week was very bullish. Now let's get into this week. So let's clear some of this up. I like to always start fresh for the week. So let's clear some of these things up, and let's just consider back on the weekly time frame. Where are we currently? So we are back all the way at this resistance level. Yes, we did kind of confirm in this area that buyers are now stepping back in after a sharp rejection. But I'm still pretty weary since we are at the resistance level. I'd love to see like a break and retest of this zone. So looking at DXY, we're certainly again at a resistance. We could even pull a supply zone right here. So we really need to break this high. So I'm not, too bullish on this thing going any higher at this point. I'm more looking for it to reverse from this level, but we'll see. So let's consider that. Let's go into Nzd USD. Let's just look at how last week's analysis ended up playing out, and then I'm going to start on the weekly time frame and work my way down to the lower time frame. So going into last week, we were basically evaluating two different opportunities here, and one of them was we were going to break this resistance level and we were going to wait for the retest and then go long, and we were playing between these two zones right here, or this thing was going to actually start to fall out. It was going to break the trend line and it was going to retest and then go to the downside. So as you can see, it ended up executing idea number two, ended up breaking the support level, lower high, breaking support. We had this little opportunity to enter right in here. If we zoom in, we had this resistance right on the red zone. So as you guys can see, I have these zones marked on here. I really want to take trades based around these zones because these are the critical levels that I am identifying. And just to zoom out onto the weekly time frame, why is this zone actually here? Because we can see it on the lower time frame, but why on the higher time frame is this zone actually significant? I always like to zoom out as much as I can. I can go all the way back. You can see that we had some support here. Price zoomed off this level. We had resistance right there. We had resistance right there. We had support multiple times in this area, support multiple times, and then zooming in a bit more. Again, we had support, we had resistance, we had support. So this is very clearly, to me, a key level in the market that there was a lot of resistance or support out. So when the market enters this area, I'm looking for it to act with a lot of volatility. And then the more minor level that I had marked was pretty much just the previous low right there. So I was definitely looking for that to be rejected. And then part of our analysis last week, I'm just going to clear some of these things up. Part of our analysis last week, why we ideally wanted to short this, leave that on, is very similar to DXY. We were at a resistance level. This time the opposite. We were at a resistance level. We had a spinning top, right? So we had multiple confirmations in line with the overall trend, which was bearish, and then ended up breaking support and then pushing to the downside on the 4 hour. So I'm really just looking to continue to ride this trade. I like to trade zone to zone here. So as you can see, this is my upper zone. This is my lower zone. So pretty much our targets are all the way down there. Our risk reward on this one is nearly a 6 risk reward. So I'm not trying to do anything too crazy here. I wouldn't be entering unless we see some sort of retest in this area. So I'm going to start to adjust this just because the market actually moved in our direction. And then at this point, I'm going to be looking for, again, retest of the previous lows. If it does come all the way back up to the red zone, I'll be looking to short in that area again, depending how price action looks. But, just trying to keep it simple here. This is pretty much what we're looking for. Should already be in this trade. But if you are trying to re-enter, you want to scale in at their support and resistance levels. So we'll see how strong the dollar ends up being this week. I personally would not be considering any longs on NU unless we break above this red zone. Then everything, this whole entire picture would look a little bit differently. But I'm going to leave it at that. Let's hop over to GU. So this week we had a great opportunity on this one because it formed a very clear head and shoulders pattern on the lower time frame. So let's just start on the weekly, and let's go ahead and clear some of this up just so we can see where we're at. Boom. All right. So weekly time frame, we had this red zone. We have this other upper zone, lower zone. Obviously, this is not as relevant. This zone all the way up here. I'm just going to bring this back on and just zoom out for a second. So again, how do I draw my zones? Pretty much just based on support and resistance. I try to keep it super simple. Last week, you guys saw on the call me drawing it out. I don't try to overcomplicate things. I literally just zoom out and I just use my naked eye and just see what looks like a strong level. We had resistance, we had support, we had support, we had resistance, we had resistance, we had support, right? So very simple. This area is extremely strong, not rocket science here. And then as we start to zoom in on where price actually was, and let's go ahead again and delete this. Bit annoying that's on there. So price had come up last week, and then we nearly formed an engulfing candle. So I was thinking, right, where we didn't exactly hit the red zone, which is where I would like this to go. But we're definitely showing some signs of resistance in this area. And then as I came down to the lower time frame, let's go ahead. As I came down to the 4 hour, because I like to do all my analysis on structure on the 4 hour, I actually recognized this head and shoulders pattern. So we had the left shoulder, we had the head, we had the right shoulder. And going into last week, we were pretty much right here. And I had mentioned on the call that we had really two options here. We could, when there's a head and shoulders pattern, really the best thing to do is to short it up here to anticipate the right shoulder, right? I mean, we already broke support, so this was just a retest, but we had missed that opportunity. So ideally we had waited for a retest of the right shoulder before getting in, or we waited for a break of support and then retest the neckline and then actually short this. So as you guys can see, we actually did come up to retest the right shoulder. So if you did follow that theory, that did play out, ended up coming up again, which would have been, very easy to get faked out. And then this thing ended up pushing the downside. So really the only opportunity to get in would have been that first one. The second one got a bit choppy in that area. I mean, you could have anticipated that this was, rejecting this level, but definitely would have been a bit more weary trying to enter in this zone. And then at this point now, we're just trading zone to zone. So we're really just waiting now for this thing to come down to the red zone. So I don't really have a trade in mind right now. If anything, what we're looking for now that we actually moved is once price does come down and retest the red area, we're going to look for some sort of resistance or some sort of support to happen at this level. And then we're going to look for it to bounce back to the upside. So that is my idea on GU. If this thing comes all the way up and does one of these and retests this level, we are going to simply look to short this again. So this is really what we're looking for on GU, is we're looking for price to retest. I don't know what's going on here. Let's move this down. We're looking for price to come up, ideally retest the neckline. That's what we were looking for originally. And then we can actually take another short opportunity to the downside. But if it does just move down into the support zone, then we're just going to look for, a potential reversal in that area. And if I zoom out again and come to the weekly time frame, this zone is never actually been below this level. It's never actually closed below. GU has never closed below this 121, 120. At least on the weekly time frame, you could see this combination here. It did dip really low, dipped about 5%, 6% below that area, but ended up closing right away, bullish engulfing, and then pushed to the upside. And that was all the way back when COVID first happened, is when I really had that dip. So market really does not tend to move down into those levels. So I personally wouldn't anticipate it breaking that support zone. I would definitely be looking for some sort of reversal when we come to that area. So that's GU. Let's head over to Ucad. Let's look at this one. So this is actually very interesting how Ucad ended up playing out from last week's analysis. So we were anticipating it to retest and then go and test this red zone down here. As you can see, it did retest this previous support level right there. It didn't actually come up to where we set our limit order, so that this trade, actually wouldn't even have entered in that, but did follow in theory what we were looking for. But then it never actually came down to hit the target, right? We would have said we enter that trade. I always like to move stop loss once I'm in profit about 1%. But this thing never actually hit the zone. So this thing ended up would have got stopped. And it's funny because we had talked about last week on the call that we were looking for it to hit the red zone and then push to the upside back to this red zone all the way up here. Unfortunately, we just never got to that area. So really, for at least my analysis, there wouldn't have been a play on USD CAD really at all whatsoever. So let's just clear everything up and let's just come back to the weekly time frame and like let's see where we're at. And right away, looking at again, the three things that I personally look at on the weekly time frame are my zones. So I have this resistance up here, I have this support down here. I like to look at price action. We have this bullish engulfing. And then I like to look at the overall trend. And this thing is certainly pushing to the upside, but in the back of my mind, you know, just looking at this, this looks like an extremely weak channel kind of moving to the upside right now. Not something that I would say is as significant as all of this downward movement. Again, this is the weekly time frame, so we do have to be very you know, weary of that. But looking at this channel, this is basically what we're doing right now. We're trending a bit to the upside. And that being said, right, am I expecting this thing to blow through resistance? No, but I am expecting there to be some upward price movement on USD CAD, which is very interesting because if we remember in the beginning, looking at DXY, I really didn't anticipate it going much higher than this supply zone right here. So this thing would have to shoot through supply, which many people might be anticipating it breaks the 105 level. I'm personally, you know, a bit hesitant on that, but looking at all these pairs, it looks like they all have room to move to the downside. So we have to consider DXY again. You know, it's going to face some resistance there. So I'm going to be a little bit more patient this week, you know, on these pairs with that in mind. So going up to the weekly, if I were to do anything on this, again, I'd be looking to ride this into the red zone. It's about 140 pips away, 130 pips away from the red zone. If we come to the 4-hour time frame, this is not what I like to see, right? This isn't structure that I like to trade. It really just, it was in a downtrend, very clear downtrend, right? Forming these lows and lower highs, bounced a bunch of times, boom. Then we had this, and then what happened? We broke this level, but it pushed so much higher, like it never retested anything, right? So I don't really love to trade this. If anything, what I would be waiting for is price to come at least back into this area, and then I would try to take some sort of retest on that zone, try to get like a 3-to-1 risk reward trade. So personally, according to the way that I trade, this would be the only kind of idea that I would have. Price would have to come back to this zone for a retest, because I like to do the no retest, no entry on this one. So let's keep that in mind for USD CAD. Let's come over to GJ. Last week, this one was like really low on our watch list because there was nothing really to be doing on this one, because we were in a weird spot. We're kind of in a similar, we were in a similar spot as USD CAD is right now. So coming up on the weekly time frame, let's just zoom out. And again, let's focus on the three things. We're focusing on the levels, the price action, and the trend. So this is my level here. Why is it here? We can just zoom out and we have resistance here. I know it might be hard for you guys to see, but I'm just, you could see how far out I am all the way back in 1997, right? Not that this is extremely relevant, but I am using kind of as much as I can, as much chart as I can here. But we have resistance here, we have support here. And then if we zoom in a little bit more, this shitty MacBook trackpad, we have support, we have resistance, we have support, we have support. We have some little wick here, nothing really significant though. Don't really care much about that. But then we have support here and we have this huge resistance where it fell off. And then as you can see more recently, price came up to this red zone, boom, dumped to the downside. And now look, and we caught this move on the call, right? We were going over this. We had this doji, we had resistance, we had the lower time frame breaking structure. That was a fairly simple trade to take with the way that we look, like break things down. Look where we are now. We have this huge wick to the upside. We're still at the resistance level. Mind you, we are in an overall very bullish trend. This thing is a very bullish trend, so I do want to keep that in mind. But I did say last week, I'm not taking a long until we break the weekly and we go long. So I'm still kind of hesitant on that. Coming down to the 4-hour time frame, you know, this is just really hard to trade right now. So I'm just going to do some forecasting because personally, not trying to force a trade on this one. So pretty much what I would look for is some sort of consolidation in this area. And then I would look for a break and I would look for a retest before going back to the downside. And I am anticipating this thing to go back to the downside. You know, in my opinion, I'm a bit more confident in that area just because of this zone right here and that wick that formed on the weekly time frame is telling me that sellers are just snapping in. So it has a lot more to prove for me to start to get more bullish on this one, but that is just my opinion. I personally will just not be taking a trade on GJ because it isn't shown what I would be confident in. So let's go to Nas 100. I've been following this one a lot over the last several months. And it's pretty interesting because never traded indices at all, you know, and then obviously they became really popular. So I started to look at them just on these calls. You could literally go back, I think like 2 or 3 months. The first time I ever even looked at Nas 100 was on one of these calls, and the analysis was, you know, very subpar in the beginning, but now we're getting very good with anticipating these moves. It's quite, I wouldn't say easy, but I would say there are definitely very clear levels on Nas 100 here that you can follow. So coming up to the weekly time frame, you can see that we had this clear bullish trend, right? And then in January of this year, this thing just ended up snapping out of the bullish trend. I have a couple levels marked here. I have this level marked off of resistance, support, resistance. And as you can see, we had this strong resistance there. So this is definitely a significant level. Not as significant to where we are now. Then we have this level, which is based on all this consolidation here, some resistance here, support there, massive support there. And then again, you know, this thing ended up retesting, and that's kind of where we were last week. So zooming in on this, you know, last week, why were we anticipating shorts? It's pretty simple. We're just looking at our levels. We were below resistance. We had a spinning top. We're in an overall downtrend. 3 confirmations lined up. So that thing, you know, definitely is giving us a lot of confidence to go short on it. And then coming to the 4-hour time frame, pretty much we had this first trade idea, which was invalidated. Stops were too small. And then we had this second trade idea, which is waiting for the retest for it to come all the way up here. So we didn't get the trade right last week. We did get the direction right, which is obviously good. But look where we are this week, right? This is a bit hard to judge because we're gapping down. And now it looks like we're just seemingly going to fall to hell right now. So I'd be interested, you know, you guys, some of you guys that trade Nas 100, right? Just post in the chat. What are you guys thinking about Nas 100 this week? This thing looks very interesting. I mean, I'm going to hop back on in a second. I'm just looking through the chat. Appreciate the love, guys. Appreciate the love. Let's see. Yeah, try to keep things very straightforward, very simple, because we're just really trying to trade the zones here, guys. And me and Nick used to, you know, give signals ourselves. Now we have some people helping us with the signals. But we, at this point, since, you know, we're very hands off, we're very patient when it comes to trading. And I think that shows with the analysis. You know, we're really waiting for the best opportunities. So let's see, Nas 100 has been really wonky for a while. So I can't say that I agree. You know, Nas 100 has been following structure pretty easily, right? It's been moving very nicely towards the downside. And I guess the zones that I've marked have made me pretty confident. This was a bit of a shakeup right here. I will be honest, right? We're in this very strong downtrend right here, forming all these lower lows and lower highs. And this thing just flowed like a river to the downside. And then all of a sudden we had this support level, which is very strong, ended up breaking this resistance. So they did get kind of wonky right here. But if you just keep in mind, you could even draw head and shoulders right here. We had the left head. This is the right shoulder. Boom, boom. Right. If you just looked at this pattern, looked at the zone, right, looked at the weekly and the overall trend, I mean, this was a pretty simple trade to try to take advantage of on the 4-hour time frame. But coming to the weekly, right, like what would I personally do on Nas 100 at this point? coming to the 4-hour, I would really have to see a significant rejection of this area. So again, I'm just gonna do some forecasting because we're not in an immediate area to take a trade. Price would have to consolidate in this area. The reason I want consolidation is because I want this or this pair to show me that there are a lot of buyers, a lot of sellers. They're stepping in, they're establishing that this level is actually a significant level. So it's basically building up orders in this area. And then ultimately, if this does happen, if consolidation does happen, whenever there's an impulse to either side of the consolidation, we can very confidently say that price has tested this area, and whomever ends up winning the battle here is going to essentially be victorious, or at least we can assume that they will be victorious, and then we can confidently take a trade. So that's how I make sense of consolidation kind of near these levels here. People call it a lot of different things. They call it, order blocks. Some people even can call this a demand zone. This certainly is a demand zone down here. If you just look left, we're at the bottom, and this is where price previously just hit support and shot up. But I'm just trying to keep it simple here, looking at this zone as a key indicator, looking for consolidation. And if this thing does break, this is then what we'll look for, put stops right above the red. And then we got a long ways to go. I mean, I have no zone down there. I would have to come up to the weekly and try to start to actually make sense of some zones. I do not want, definitely don't want this alert to be waking up, trading view be screaming to the downside. But we're gonna leave, I guess we'll just leave it because I can't remove it for now. So looking at this, where is our next zone on Nas 100? And it's pretty simple, right? Don't want to overcomplicate things. Look left. We had resistance, we had support, That's enough for me to consider this to be our next zone. Don't have to go crazy drawing it exactly. This is just the general area. And then that basically becomes our target on the 4-hour time frame. So if we just look in this area, we're going to target here, right? We always want to have at least a 2-to-1 risk reward. So whether stops are up there, stops are down here, it really all depends how the price action ends up forming. But at least 2-to-1 risk reward. So that's my trade on Nas 100. Let's see. Nas hard to judge. Yeah, Nas is in a tough spot. We did analyze gold. Yeah, this session is recorded. We posted on the Forex League YouTube, so we'll share the link for that. If price breaks 1160, I'll be 100% bearish on Nas 100. Let's see. 1160. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly, where I'm mapping it out. We have all this support back here. We really need price to break support right there. And again, this consolidation would be key because it would just tell me that price struggled a little bit. And so that way, once we get that impulse, this would then be very valid. That volume is going to kick in and move this thing to the downside. So that's pretty much it for the analysis on all the pairs that I'm trading. We're going to do BTC as the final pair. This one I'm not taking any intraday trades on. But as you guys can see, BTC is in the free fall of the ages at this point. Last week, we kind of started to go over this, and this is definitely the McDonald's strategy. Now, the reason, this is the McDonald's strategy, guys, is because, pretty much I'm going all in on BTC, and it's pretty much do or die here. So we're either going to go broke, or we're going to make a lot of money. So I've pretty much already entered BTC in multiple areas. I entered up here at 37. So this was my first support zone that I marked. I entered down here at 28, right around that area. And then I entered over here, or I'm going to enter here at 20. So once it actually does make it down into the 20 area, 19, I'm going to take my third entry. The thinking process in this first zone right here was I was just doing some analysis on BTC. I noticed every bull run, whenever there's a weekly candle close of over 10%, it ended up pushing to the upside. I mean, this is just a very dumb, like simple rule that I put in, and I noticed it so many times. So that's why I entered in this area, and then I ended up going up 25%. I put in 100K, went up 25%. I think at the most went up 28%. And then as you can see, ended up pushing the downside. So now I'm pretty much just dollar cost averaging this position because obviously I'm long BTC, you know, for the future. So pretty much just the position that I'm taking. So now I'm just trying to grab more at each level. So I'm going to put I put 60K in here, and then 40K we'll put in down here at 19. And then we'll see. Total will be in 200K. And then if price ends up making it to the targets, which everyone and their mother kind of targets 100K for BTC, that 200 will end up at 656. So yeah, we'll see what that happened, what happens with that. I mean, you know, BTC is definitely a long play, and like we were saying last week, was kind of in the crypto and Tron, you know, held that thing from 2017 all the way to pretty much 2022 and ended up getting a pretty good return on that because I just dollar cost averaged the entire time. So going to take the same strategy with BTC. I mean, I think we're going to be in for some dark times on this one, this and the stocks. So we'll see what goes down with that. So guys, that's pretty much it for the analysis that I'm going to do. We are going to do the giveaway. So if you guys want to get in on the giveaway, pretty much just post this. We did this last week. You'll have a chance to do it right now. Post basically a screenshot from the session on your Instagram story. Tag us on your story. And then we'll pick one person. I'll DM you whomever the winner is. So I'm going to leave this on here. Whether you take a screenshot, whether you guys take a picture of the live session, post us, tag Forex League, tag the funded trader in there, and then you guys will qualify for the giveaway. The giveaway will be for a 10K challenge, and I know that's not public, but it's a private challenge that we do. And if you don't have Instagram, Martin, all that means is you can't participate in the giveaway. So, you know, if you want to download it, sign up, you know, is what it is.
Get in there, you know, you take your chance. You never know.
Yeah, but we're gonna start. I mean, we've been doing these analyses anyway on Sundays, and haven't done this. My wife won't. You gotta get, if your wife won't allow it, you gotta get a new wife. You know what I'm saying? But we've been doing these sessions for forever, so we're definitely excited to bring you guys, you know, the calls, and we're glad you guys are enjoying it. We hope you guys got some value out of it.
Yeah, guys, always. I mean, we're going to be here every Sunday. But yeah, to participate, just tag Forex League and add the funded trader. I dropped it in chat if you guys need to see it, how it's spelled. Yeah, make sure you spell it right, because there's some fake profiles out there. If you're one letter off, you may land on a different page. So
yeah, there's a new fake Forex League one that just came out.
Oh man, I actually found out that IG's banning all these accounts based on the profile image. So if there's like 10 of the same person posting the same thing, they get taken down. So
Interesting.
yeah, it's tough times. These guys are out here.
I feel like once we get the trademark, it'll be very easy.
Yeah, I think it'll be a lot better. Definitely.
Yeah, the trademark takes forever. It's been 6 months, and I checked the status yesterday. It was approved, but now it's being assigned to an agent, and it should take another 2 to 3 months.
It's a process. I mean, they told us. They told us it was a pain in the ass.
Last chance, post on your Instagram story that you guys are on the session. Post the McDonald's strategy, post whatever you guys want. We appreciate you guys putting the tags on there, spreading some support for us, and one person's gonna win the 10K challenge. So best of luck to everyone that's participating.
Yeah, good way to start the week, I'd say. Definitely.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Session will be on YouTube in a little bit. So best of luck on the challenges, everyone that's in TFT, and we'll chat with you guys next week.
Yeah, good luck, guys. Take care. Peace.
Peace.